Hello and welcome to the Next in Line podcast, where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I am your host, Chance Pitts, and I'd like to thank you for tuning into this episode. Guys and gals, welcome into the podcast. I'm super excited to have y'all here with me. It's been a crazy busy weekend and past week, and it's just going to get busier as we roll into this week as well with the things we have going on. First and foremost, if you hear a chirping sound on this episode, I apologize. I've got an issue with a smoke detector here at the house that I can't figure out. No, it's not the battery. It's not a simple fix, but I promise to have that thing knocked out and we'll get it figured out so we don't continue to have this issue through the other episodes. But I do ask that you stick around and just lend me your ear for a little while so we can throw you some motivation, some inspiration, and some strategies for taking on some things in your life. Now, I want to go ahead and take care of some of that housekeeping that we always talk about, guys. If you receive value from this episode of the Next in Line podcast or any other episode that we've put out, maybe even that episode we just dropped, number 88 with Chris Barnes, which was a great episode, I would ask that you share the show with like-minded individuals who could receive the same kind of value. That's the number one way for us to grow and to reach a larger audience. And guys, when we're able to reach that larger audience, we're able to help more people, which is our goal. Now, another way you can help us do that is by interacting with us on whatever platform you find yourself listening on. That could be Spotify, that could be YouTube, that could be Apple Podcast. What that looks like is liking, commenting, subscribing, leaving a rating or review if you're able to. And what that's going to do, guys, is it's just going to help us pop up earlier in the search bar as people look for personal development and self-help type shows. I appreciate everyone who's done that. That's a huge help. That's the number one way for us to really push forward is by your interactions and you sharing the show. Now, you can also keep up with all the crazy stuff we have going on and all the interesting motivational stuff that we put out on social media by giving us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. That's at Next in Line Development on all three of those platforms. We've also had some cool DMs come in with people asking questions, requesting some help, and just working through some different things that we've been able to help with. So that's really cool as well. We're always happy to help out. So don't hesitate to shoot us a DM there as well. We're really responsive on those platforms. Now, one of the big announcements I want to say is today, I went to Houston yesterday, but today, Michael Ruiz finished his first marathon. I was able to sneak down there, like I said yesterday, stay the night, and then get up and be bright and early at the event center there in Houston, where they hosted the Chevron Phillips Houston Marathon. It was a phenomenal experience just to be part of what was a complete dogfight for him at some point. Plans don't always go the way they're supposed to, and sometimes it just comes down to grit and determination, and he showed a ton of that. I could not be more proud of that guy and the things that he is accomplishing. So huge shout out and huge congratulations to Michael. If you know him, if you've got him on any social media or have his number, shoot him a message. Let him know how proud of him that you are as well. So it's really cool to see that. Now, another thing we have going on, guys, is there is a group of us, about 10 of us in the Facebook group, plus a couple of more, making about a dozen of us in total, that are either actively taking on 75 Hard or that start 75 Hard today as this episode drops on Monday. Now, it's going to be a very challenging thing. And I know some of you are probably asking yourselves why I'm deciding to take on 75 Hard again. And we'll get into that here in a minute. But first, I want to wish everyone who's taking on that program good luck and good vibes as you work through that, because it is a very challenging thing. It's going to test you in ways that you've never been tested before, but it's going to move your life in a very positive direction. It's going to build mental fortitude for you and strength for you that you've never had in your life before. Believe me, I am a product of that. And yes, like we talked about, I've taken on 75 Hard twice. I've taken on the Live Hard program and completed it as well. And it was a very, very tough thing to do. But like I said, it made all the difference. So good luck to those of y'all starting. And if y'all need anything, y'all know you can reach out. You're part of the group on Facebook too. So super excited to have everybody doing it. And that many people committed. We actually had a meeting the other night for 75 Hard on a video call type platform. And everyone showed up. It was kind of crazy to me to see the commitment that everyone has for this program. Super, super stoked about it. And as we look into taking on 75 hard, I thought it was a prime opportunity to get in front of y'all and talk about some of the different strategies that we have going on this podcast, and the ones that we talk about on a regular basis, that we kind of explain the scenarios in which they would work and how you can apply them to your life, but we've never given a real life tangible example of how I'm going to apply those things here and now to something. So that's what I'm going to do today, guys. I'm going to work through the 75 hard program and what my plan is and how I'm going to implement some of the different strategies that we talk about here on this podcast to make sure that I am ready for this, that I commit for the full 75 days with no mistakes, and that we knock this thing out of the park, getting the results that we truly want. So, guys, some of the ideas that we talked about, just to review and share, would be maybe having a plan as we go into something hard, preparing ahead of time, creating the proper environment for us to be successful, slaying the monsters first, which means getting the hard things out of the way, of course, and committing ourselves 100% to our goals. So, as we dive into those things and as we look at that, I want to answer the question that was asked just a second ago. Why am I doing 75 hard again? Well, just thinking off the top of my head, I was able to write down about 3 reasons that came to mind very, very quickly. Number 1 being that this time around, I have the opportunity to work with and help out some great individuals. I mentioned being involved in a group of 10 on Facebook, about 12 in total. There are some phenomenal individuals who are doing some great things in life and really are looking to move their lives in a positive direction and develop themselves in a way that they haven't quite done yet, or maybe they've gone through this program before, but they're looking to get back to that level or advance themselves even further. And I get to be part of that this time around, rather than just standing alone by myself and seeing the results of it. And I'm really looking forward to being able to help people out and also to receive help as well in that regard. Now, reason number 2 is I really want to build my mental fortitude back to the level that I've had it previously. Not that it's terribly far off, but I know that there's a large amount of obstacles and opportunities that will be coming my way in 2023. There's a handful of that I already know about, and of course there's so many that'll be coming this way that I could not even wrap my head around at this point, I'm sure, in the form of both obstacles and opportunities, like I said. But I want to be ready when those things come my way, and I want to commit myself to being strong enough to handle the strain of taking on those things, because the good things and the bad things in life together both have a strain in our lives regardless. They take up mental bandwidth, and I want to make sure I'm in a position to capitalize on those things as they come my way. Now, number 3, guys, it ties into number 2 a little bit, but I want to use this as a daily commitment to ensure that I'm actively working towards the goals that I have set for myself in 2023. One of which being that 225-mile ultra marathon that I have in October. I want to use this as a way for me to build a baseline, an aerobic base, for me to really focus all of my dietary needs and intake and all of my workout sessions to advance me towards that goal of completing that marathon, but also to make sure that I'm taking on these different challenges and these different parts of this program, such as the reading 10 pages and developing myself in that way, and make sure that I'm fully committed to that. And also making sure that all of the things that I don't need to put into my life, like the sweets, like the alcohol, and all these other crazy things, even like cigars and stuff like that, I want to make sure those things aren't a factor and I'm not consuming those things that I know shouldn't be something that I put into my body or into my life for that matter. So those are the real big 3 reasons that I've decided to take on 75 hard one more time. And even though I've done it twice, I do not suspect that this will be an easy thing at all. I think this is going to be very challenging, just like always. And I think that any of you out there who are trying to improve themselves, who are actively thinking about moving their lives in a positive direction, you should consider taking on this program. But let's go ahead and dive into some of the different things that you have to do in 75 hard and some of the strategies that I will utilize that we've talked about in this podcast prior to today. So First and foremost, guys, we know that there's two 45-minute workouts, one of which has to be outdoors and the other one can be inside or outside. So how am I going to fit 2 workouts into a day that have to be 3 hours apart? That's another stipulation with it. So what my plan is for that, guys, I'm going to attack this early. I'm going to slay the monsters first, right? I'm going to go at this 4:30 in the morning, get up, go run 10 minutes, come inside, and lift weights, guys. I'm going to get after it first thing in the morning to get one out of the way so that I know I don't have to stack up workouts later on. There was many times in the first 75 hard that I did where I would get sidetracked or work would get crazy or something would get out of hand, and I wouldn't get my first workout in until after I got home after 6 p.m. So that makes for a very late night and a very early morning the next day, and it throws off your entire week. And what it does is it causes you to become more likely to miss one of these things, to get reckless, to get careless, and that's not something I want to happen this time around. So I'm going to make sure that when my alarm goes off at 4:30, I am up, I am focused, and I am committed to knocking out that workout. Now, along with that, guys, I'm going to make sure I'm ready to go when I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm going to have my clothes laid out so that I have what I need, exactly what I need to be successful in the morning whenever I set out to do that workout. I'm going to have the clothes laid out. I'm going to have my supplements laid out that I take, because I do take a couple of different supplements. And I'm going to make sure my water cup is already full the night before, because we'll get to that step. But the first thing I do is drink water in the morning to get ready to take on that workout. Then, guys, to make sure that I'm getting that second workout in later on, it talks about having a plan and being prepared. I'm going to have running gear with me in my truck 24/7. I'm going to have a bag on me so that if there's ever a chance for me to break out and go on a run or go on a walk or knock out that workout on lunch or in between having to do something late at night and getting home from work, just if I'm by a trail system, I have the option to go ahead and take care of that second 45-minute workout. I'm going to plan ahead and have that ready to go so I can be dangerous. I can be successful whenever I want to be with that, and I can strike whenever I want to. Now, that's kind of how I'm going to approach those two 45-minute workouts. The next thing in line is that progress picture. And I know some of you are probably thinking a progress picture, whatever. You just take a picture shirtless in front of a mirror every single day. It's whatever. The progress picture has probably eliminated more people close to me than anything else. So it will sneak up on you if you're not prepared for it. And what I plan to do to combat that is I'm going to pair it up. James Clear in Atomic Habits, that's a great book for you to read if you're getting into personal development. He talks about pairing up habits together with something so that you can make them easily rememberable, right? So I know that if I hit my first workout and then I go into the restroom to take a shower, the first thing that I'm doing, because I paired it up, is whenever I take my shirt off and I'm looking in the mirror right there, I'm snapping a picture. I'm taking my progress picture right then and there and getting it out of the way early. I have paired it with something else, and that comes in part of the plan. And it also comes with taking care of it early and getting it knocked out and slaying those monsters, guys. So that's the number one way that I'm going to take care of this picture. Is I'm just going to make sure that I pair it with a workout so it feels unnatural if I don't do it first thing in the morning after that workout. Next thing in line would be that 10 pages of reading, and that's nonfiction and personal development style reading. So what I'm going to do is whenever I decide to read, before we get into how I'm going to make sure that I get the book in front of myself, the first thing I want to make sure of is that whenever I do pick up that book, guys, that 10 pages that I read, I am going to have my undivided attention in that book. I'm going to go in my office and shut the door. I'm going to take my lunch break in my truck and turn my notifications on my phone off for 30 minutes or however long it takes me to do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to fully commit to that plan and what I'm doing so I can make sure I soak up that knowledge, guys, because you're not just reading this book to check a box. You're actually trying to develop yourself and learn. So another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have my books picked out ahead of time and that the reading that I'm doing is tailored to things that I'm actually interested in and I'm actually committed to becoming better in, so that it is relevant and it is interesting and it keeps me on track and I get it knocked out. Now, Another thing I'm going to do to make sure that I always have the opportunity to read, in that running bag I previously talked about, that book is going to just about live there. It's going to always be with me. It's going to be in the truck, or it's going to be at the house with me. So I'm always going to have it. And I'm always going to have the option to read that book wherever I'm at. Now, that's going to be one of the biggest things. But along with that, a side note, a tip I didn't put on here that I will share with you that I've had a couple of friends have issues with is I'd advise that you don't read the book late at night, right? That's part of having a plan and part of having things laid out and avoiding risks as well. Because what that does, guys, if you're reading that book late at night after you've already done 2 workouts, it's been a long day, you had to work and do all these other crazy things, and you sit down or you lay down with that book in front of you, you're liable to fall asleep, guys. And if you don't get those 10 pages in, guess what? It's back to day one, and nobody wants that. So what you want to do is you want to get that done early. You want to set aside time, be intentional, and make sure you're present, awake, and focused on knocking out that task. So guys, moving on to the next thing, the gallon of water. I alluded to it earlier, but the first thing I do in the morning, this goes with attacking it early. The first thing I do in the morning is I slam a blender bottle full of water. Now, I've got a couple different sizes. That's 24 ounces or 32 ounces. So I am drinking that much water as soon as I wake up. Then I'm taking my supplements, my pre-workout, whatever it is, and then I'm refilling it and taking it to the gym with me to work out, or I'm taking it to the home gym with me to work out. And over the course of that workout, I'm knocking out a complete another bottle of water. So what I've got by, I don't know, after an hour and a half, 2 hours of being woke up is 48 to 64 ounces of water already knocked out. And that's a huge chunk of this water. And if you get behind on this, guys, the problem is you'll end up having to chug water late at night, and it's not fun at all. I've been on the other end of the spectrum where I was not able to get my water in, and it is one of the biggest things that a lot of people have trouble with in this because nobody's used to drinking that much water. We've gotten to a point where a lot of people are drinking more tea or soda or different things like that. So this one can be a little bit more dangerous for you. So you have to plan ahead. You have to commit, and you have to make sure that you're really creating that proper environment. That water sitting on my bedside table, so I grab it first thing in the morning. I just get after it right off the bat. Now, also, it specifically calls for drinking a gallon of water to do this program. So what I do is I use an app. Now I use the First Form app. It's able to track food and water, and there's some other great things involved in that app as well. But what I used to use whenever I first started it, before I got on this, was an app called Water Llama, and it's so dumb, but it works great. It is a llama that you drink and you add the ounces of water that you've got in there, and it fills the llama with water, working towards your goal, which I had it set on a gallon. So every day I'd make sure my llama was full in the Water Llama app. And it was the dumbest thing ever, but it saved me a lot of trouble, and it answered, it erased any questions that I had about whether I was drinking enough water or not during this process. So those are the things I would advise for taking on that gallon of water. And using that tracking app, what that does is it's part of creating the right environment for you, right? It's creating a structure for you to be successful within this task. Next, guys, following a diet. And the first thing I want to say about a diet before I get into actual strategies about it is following a diet is something that's often seen about losing weight. But diets are a very specific thing that are tailored to help you reach a goal. And that goal is not always just losing weight. Sometimes it's adding weight on and bulking. Sometimes it's maintaining your weight. Sometimes it is losing weight. But you can use it for several different things, and it can be a million different things. And I highly, highly recommend that you don't come in and just cut your calories out from under you, because what you're going to do is you're going to really destroy your energy levels. You're going to lose weight at an unsustainable rate, and you're going to get in a situation that I was in whenever I did my first 75 hard, and you get addicted to the number on the scale. There's a lot of things that kind of snowball together with this, but what I would say is find you a true diet, something that is structurally intact, that is studied for a long time. It's not just one of these fads that's come along, and something that you can stick to for a long time, because the goal is to have true changes throughout your diet for the rest of your life, not to just do this for 75 days, then jump off of it and go right back to eating Twinkies and ice cream. So make sure this is something that is sustainable, guys. And along with that, like I said with the water, track it on an app. There's a couple of great apps out there. I'm a big fan of the First Form app. I like First Form as a company for supplements also and advising. The app's got ways to track all of your food, all of your water, everything you're taking, the supplements that you've got going on, and all that cool stuff. Another one is MyFitnessPal that's out there that's really popular. A lot of people like that one as well. So whatever it is that you have, guys, just find something that will track your food to make sure you're staying on course. Now, another thing that I had going on was whenever I first started this, I didn't understand that creating the environment was that much important with food. And what I mean by that, guys, is like we talked about previously, if you're prone to have a sweet tooth, if you're prone to eat something that or consume something that's not great for you, then don't bring it in the house. Don't pick it up at the grocery store. Don't put it in the basket. Make sure it's completely removed from your scope. And along with that, guys, I'm going to say prepare ahead of time. I know that goes into preparing ahead of time a little bit by not even bringing it in, but more than that, what I would say is do some meal prepping. Plan what you're going to eat so that you avoid a lot of these situations where you're tempted to break your diet in some form or fashion. Next, guys, I'm going to dive into the last thing, which is no cheat meals or alcohol. This can be really tough for some people. And what you've got to do to be successful in this is commit 100% to your diet plan. And what I mean by that, guys, is not just you got to follow a diet plan. No, like I said, make sure it's sustainable. Make sure it's something that's going to serve you. It's going to fill you up. It's going to fuel your body in the way that it needs to be fueled. Because if you're not meeting your body's basic needs, you're going to have issues throughout a program like this. You're going to have issues taking on just your everyday life. You're going to become tired, lethargic. You could even get sick. And you're going to just get run down and you're going to spend all your weekends sleeping, recovering from the crazy weeks that you have. And I've been there, done that, guys. So I highly advise you to find a diet that you can commit to that's sustainable and that you can follow a plan with. Next, guys, I alluded to it a little bit with the diet, but avoid situations that put pressure on you to slip up. And a big one with that, guys, is social functions. Another big one is at work. Everyone always wants to go out to eat at work. Everyone always wants to go to the bar after to get drinks. Your friends want you to come over and drink some beers. Somebody's always sending a cake home. Somebody's bringing donuts to the office. There's so many scenarios where you can find yourself having pressure. But if you plan your meals ahead of time, if you eat ahead of time, if you have a set meal schedule or meal plan that you're following, it makes it that much easier to avoid making a decision to slip up or go off of your diet plan. Next, guys, if you have people in your house, I know my buddy Steve Pipes mentioned this, if you got a wife and kids and they have certain diets that they follow, or they have certain things that they're willing to eat or not willing to eat, the goal is not to punish everybody in the house, right? So you're going to be nice. You're going to be the kind of person that allows other people to bring things into their house, right? Like the wife can bring in some sweets. The kids can have some different, dinosaur chicken nuggets, whatever it is that kids eat nowadays. But whatever you have going on, you got to understand that there's going to be outside influences there. But what's important from that is having the people around you support what you're trying to do. Having people around you that are close to you, like for instance, my wife might eat some Cocoa Puffs in the morning or something like that, but I know that she's going to hold me accountable into the diet that I chose for myself. She's going to make sure that I am not slipping up and I'm not going in there and getting a bowl of Cocoa Puffs in the middle of the night, right? She's going to make sure that I stay on my plan. She's going to be on board with this process. And that's a huge one, guys. Just make sure you have somebody in your life and the people that are close to you on board and that they're supporting the things that you are truly trying to do. Now, guys, I've run through this list. I know we've talked a lot about 75 Hard, but in the sense of creating an environment for yourself and creating a structure for you to be successful, the last thing I would do if you're deciding to take on this program or if you're deciding to do anything in life is make yourself a list, guys. Set reminders for yourselves. Become overly organized so that you don't have to wonder if you got all of the things done that you needed to get done. And for 75 Hard, there's actually an app that you can download that I'd highly recommend if you decide to take this on. But just make sure you have that structure, guys. Make sure you're creating that environment. Make sure you're giving yourself a list of things to do and staying organized and accomplishing the things you need to do and checking them off, guys. So with this, I know we're all going to have speed bumps. I know we're all going to have things that pop up and things that get crazy, and we're going to have hard days that make completing 75 hard, or if it's not 75 hard for you, completing the daily things in your life that you have to get done, all the different commitments that you have in your life. It's going to be very challenging to work through all of those things every single day and be successful. But if you're able to do these things that we've talked about, this having a plan, this preparing ahead of time, this creating a proper environment, this slaying the monsters first and being 100% committed to the process, that's going to make this that much easier when those problems come along. And I know there's problems that are going to come along because they do come along every single day. And a few of those, and what those look like for me, guys, is one, I am dog tired from running around and chasing Michael around Houston as he ran his marathon all day today. I know his girlfriend Bree is probably exhausted as well. Shout out to Bree. She's a great support for him. That's awesome. She fits that last bill, having somebody on board really, really well. She's also doing 75 hard, so super excited for that. Michael is as well. But I'm tired. Well, I'll get back to the point, guys. The speed bumps, I'm tired from today. I ran around probably over 40,000 steps today on a day where I was planning on doing some running and not even reaching anywhere close to that amount of steps. But I know that is going to make my morning tomorrow that much more rough. I know that's going to make my long day tomorrow that much more rough. So that's a speed bump that's going to be constantly a factor. Having hangover from the last day of being tired and being stressed out and having all these crazy things going on. But those are things that you can work through if you're 100% committed, if you create an environment that serves you, guys, if you're preparing ahead of time and having a plan that can save you in those situations. Another speed bump, guys, is my work day tomorrow on top of being tired is insane. I've got 2 orders going out. I'm in the rental business. I've got 2 orders going out that I've got to deliver after 6 p.m. in San Antonio, and then I've got to drive back and work out. So those are things that are going to pop up. They're going to get to me. My schedule's very fluid and very changing all the time. So having those things prepared ahead of time, like that running bag I talked to y'all about, like getting up and making sure I knock out my workout since I've got so much stuff going on, getting up and making sure I take that progress picture and read those pages. That's all going to be super important. Handling first things first, slaying those monsters. Then, guys, another huge speed bump that I'm going to have is my dad's 100-mile race on February 4th. It's going to be right in the middle of this. Now, there's going to be other people on 75 hard there as well. So what I'm going to do to get around this, guys, is I'm going to take a bunch of weights with me. I'm going to pace my dad, and that's going to be part of a workout. I'm going to make sure that all the things we have there, diet-wise and food-wise and nutrition-wise, are things that are good for me. I'm not going to partake in the ramen noodles or the mashed potatoes that I'm sure I'm going to have to cook for my dad, or the Cheez-Its and Goldfish and other cookies and crackers that are going to be there. No, I'm going to make sure that I plan my meals and that I'm successful on that day by doing that and by bringing all my weights and the things that I need to hit my workouts and all that with me. Also bringing a book with me. Those are things that are very important. But guys, I know we talked about 75 hard like crazy, but go back and utilize these things we talked about, that having a plan, preparing ahead of time, creating the proper environment, and slaying the monsters first, and being 100% committed. Use those in the right places in your life, because every single day you've got a list just like this 75 hard. You've got tasks that you've got to accomplish. You've got commitments that you've made for yourself, and they're on the physical front. They're on the intellectual front. They're on the mental side of things, the spiritual side of things. They're all over the map, just like this 75 hard is, guys. And you can apply these very principles and these strategies to your life to be successful. 75 hard might not be for you. This might not be what you want to do. It's not for everybody, and that's okay. But guys, you can still take the things that we've talked about today and you can utilize them in your life to find success. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, guys, and always be prepared for whatever is next in line.